Hello and welcome to my channel. Just thought I'd give you a quick update on what's happening with me. Obviously, due to the current situation with coronavirus, not a lot has been happening on my channel of late. If you didn't know, I actually live in the Canary Islands, which is a part of Spain, and so therefore comes under their very strict lockdown conditions. Until last Monday, we weren't even allowed to go out of the house to exercise. The only reasons we were allowed out were to go shopping for food, to go to the chemist or the doctors, or to go and get petrol for your car. Other than that, you're just simply not allowed out. And they really are policing it over here. The police in Spain are absolutely totally different to the police in the UK. They're out on the streets all the time, and they're stopping people, questioning where they've been, checking receipts for shopping, getting on buses, checking where you're going, pulling cars over, making sure there's only one of you in the car. You're not allowed to go out to in the car or to go to the shop together if you're a couple. So it's been a pretty tedious and stressful time, to be honest. Luckily, as I said, last Monday they relaxed the lockdown on exercise a little bit, so we're allowed to go out during allotted time slots during the day, which means I've been able to get out 2 or 3 times for short walks on the hills just behind the village. But I still have to be back in the house by 10 AM for my age group. So yeah, been a pretty boring time, to be honest. So what do I do in this sort of period of time? Well, apart from watching loads of TV and reading books, it's been a lot of dreaming about what walks I would like to do in the future. And I just thought I'd give a quick summary of the sort of rough plans I have in my head. Apart from one, none of these are actually definite. But if you've been following my channel, you probably know that in the beautiful summer of 2018, I set off from Land's End with the intention of walking all the way to John O'Groats. This didn't actually pan out as expected. Lots and lots of problems, especially on the first section. I ended up finishing on that section at Hay-on Wye in the south of Wales. Last year I went back to Hay-on Wye and encountered yet more problems. This time an infected leg forced me to stop for the best part of 2 weeks, and I eventually finished that section in Carlisle, having walked the entirety of the Cambrian Way. The plan was to go back last month and continue from Carlisle to John O'Groats, but of course that plan has now been kicked in the touch. So I will probably, assuming things are back to something like normal, I would probably attempt to do that again next year. Hopefully I'll be able to get it done this time. It was never my intention to break Land's End to John O'Groats into 3 parts, but it's just the way it worked out. Coronavirus just seems to have been the cherry on the cake in this instance. Also, I've been reading quite a few books while I've been in lockdown, and I've read this. Actually, I read it before, but many years ago. I reread it. It's Wainwright's A Pennine Journey. He wrote this in 1938, just as war was about to break out, and he escaped from his job and all other responsibilities for a couple of weeks and walked from Settle in the Dales up the eastern flank of the Pennines to Hadrian's Wall, Then he followed Hadrian's Wall for about 25 miles before descending back to settle along the western flank of the Pennines. He wrote his account of it, and so the story goes, put it in the bottom of a drawer and forgot about it for many decades until his publisher heard about it, and then asked to have a look at it and decided it was worth publishing. Well, having read it, I have to say I agree with the publisher. It's a beautifully written book. Wainwright I think, is a terrific writer, and his descriptions of the countryside and his experiences along the way are really, really beautifully written, I think. It gets criticised in some quarters for his attitude towards women. It gets accused of misogyny, which I think is probably a bit of an exaggeration. He's definitely a man of the times. He's definitely got all... I did actually laugh out loud a couple of times with some of his comments about women. He either places them on a pedestal, a fantasy pedestal, and dreams about his ideal woman, or he's being very disparaging about them and sort of pontificating on what a woman's place is and all this sort of thing. But I guess if you'd have spoken to any male of the time, or many males of the time, you would have got a similar reaction. So I don't really think he's anything out of the ordinary in that respect. He is a bit of a crusty old curmudgeon, I suppose. Not really a big fan of people. Tends to like his own company. But there you go. I didn't find that ruined the book. But anyway, this is a walk that I personally would like to do at some point in the future. Don't know when, but I believe there's a guidebook for this now, and it's waymarked as well, and it's also marked on OS maps. So I think that'll be one worth investigating, because I did really thoroughly enjoy the Pennine Way. So this is obviously covering similar territory. Another one that I need to have a go at in the future, because I've sort of encountered it 3 times and I've never done it in its entirety, is the Cape Wrath Trail. This is the original book by Dennis Brooke and Phil Hinchliffe. Phil Hinchliffe used to be in the a member of the Ramblers group that I was a member of many years ago, and he gave a talk on one of our Ramblers meetings about this. This was back in 1999, I believe, and afterwards, after his talk, a friend and myself went over and had a chat with Phil Hinchliffe. It's pictured on the back there, and we ordered a couple of copies from him, and the following year we had a go at doing it. Unfortunately, I got sick after a couple of days and had to pull out at Shield Bridge after 4 days, crossing the Knoydart area. My friend went on and completed it, and I've always wanted to do it. The walk formed part of my route across Scotland that I did in 2016 and 17, and ironically, within about 40-50 miles of Cape Wrath, I actually got sick again and had to pull out. So I've never actually got to Cape Wrath, so I really want to do that and try and start from Fort William and get to the end, but when, I've no idea. Anyway, that's another one I've been looking at. And finally, the other one in the back of my mind that's been there a long while is the Cambrian Way, which is a mountain route across Wales from coast to coast, north to south, south to north, about 300 miles, generally regarded, along with the Cape Wrath Trail, as the hardest long distance trail in the UK. Whether or when, I ever get round to it, I've really no idea. But that's what I've been thinking about in the back of my mind, dreaming about getting back out on the trail again while I've been sat here in lockdown. Hopefully this next Monday the restrictions are going to be lifted a little bit more, so I hope to be able to get out in the hills in Tenerife here and do a bit of hiking. Anyway, whilst you've been in lockdown, wherever you are, have you had any thoughts about what walks you might like doing after lockdown is over? If you have, just put a comment in the comment section below, and if you've enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up and think about subscribing to the channel. Anyway, all the best, stay safe, and see you soon. Bye.